Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1630. The topic is Q&A and the title is Why I Lose Clients. Bum, 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 bum. So I thought it'd be kind of a little bit of a clickbaity type title, but I thought it was kind of a fun title. So I do want to actually talk about why I lose clients today. Now, why are we talking about this? I was actually talking with a personal trainer recently, and they're a little bummed because they had lost a client. A client had kind of ghosted them, and they were kind of feeling bummed about it. And so we got into a discussion about how that just is part of the nature of the business at times. So over half of my clients are actually personal trainers, which is really fun, very exciting. I'm very blessed about that. And it's actually really cool because I get to work with people in different countries. So I actually have clients in 7 countries right now. And I work with personal trainers in different countries, and it's fun to see all the different ways things are structured business-wise in different countries. But yet it's all the same, as in everybody just genuinely wants to help people. And that's super exciting and super fun. So I love getting to work with personal trainers. I've hosted dozens of interns, both in person and virtually, through the gym, which is really cool and exciting. I taught weight training actually at the local university. I taught the local university for 7.5 years, teaching exercise physiology labs and a bunch of other stuff. But one of the classes I taught was weight training, and I helped dozens of students get certified as personal trainers and actually work as personal trainers to help pay for school, like get some, spending money as they went through school. And I've helped personal trainers open over 10 businesses, advised a lot more. So it's been really fun. I've gotten to do a lot of in-depth work with other personal trainers, which is really cool. I'm only 39, which I think is young yet in business, but I've been a personal trainer for over 20 years. I've owned Brutal Iron Gym now for 12 years. And this is what I do. So this is what I do full time. It's my source of income. This is how I make my living. And I absolutely, absolutely love it. I love that I get to help others. And I love that I get to help others that help others. So it's really awesome ripple effect, is I know every trainer I help, then everyone they work with will be helped as well. So it's a huge blessing. Very, very, very blessed. And I just absolutely love and am very grateful for where I am in my life and what I get to do. So I was talking with this young trainer. They're new to training, and they're kind of building their reputation, and they will eventually want to have their own business and kind of grow it and have it be like their main source of income. But right now they're kind of high emotion. When they get a new client, it's the most exciting thing in the world, which it always is, actually. So that never goes away. It's still super fun. But when they lose somebody, it's been crushing them. So right now, since they have a low number of clients, it seems to be really highs and lows, or really big highs and lows. So we were talking about that, and in that discussion, I talked about the reasons why I lose clients. And I wanted them to know that it just happens. There's fluctuations in life. And I wanted to go through and explain in the podcast what I talked with them in person, and then give some advice on how you can kind of manage the ups and downs emotionally of losing clients. So the number one reason why I lose clients, and this is common for most personal trainers I talk to, is just financial, aspects. So going into the holidays, if people have to buy Christmas gifts, or we're coming out of the holidays and they have to pay off Christmas gifts, so people will have kind of financial income, like leeway, what they can spend on services such as personal training and nutritional counseling and whatnot. That's going to kind of ebb and flow with the holidays. It's going to be like a rhythmic kind of thing that happens every year. And then you also just have life events. People lose their job. People have to move. Maybe they have to get a new roof on their house and they weren't expecting that. Maybe the water heater, died, and all of a sudden they have to deal with expenses of that. Maybe a family member got sick, and they're just dealing with kind of the arrangements for all that, and just really low morale. They're kind of depressed, reasonably. So they're just kind of overwhelmed with that kind of stuff. So you have a lot of life events that will create financial fluctuations for people. And we all know that this is just generally true, as not everybody budgets their money very well. So, if somebody isn't great with budgeting, those things are going to catch them by surprise, and they're going to hit them even harder. So luxury things in life, such as personal training, are going to drop off. Now, I know this for myself is I focus on a lot of education with my clients, or at least I hope I do. So they can listen to a podcast every day. They can ask me any question they want, always, ever. So there's a lot of opportunities for education. So we do a lot of education. So if somebody runs into a tough month or two, they know what to do. They keep me when the money's okay for accountability and to ask more questions and have excitement and newness in their training, and it's just kind of fun to have somebody going along with you. But if money becomes tight and they're like, hey Rob, I'm really running into some money troubles here this next month or two, is it okay if I just run the previous training program again and just stick with the nutrition numbers that you gave me? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? You're actually kind of cruising, towards their goals. We're not working on, it's not like contest prep where they're 4 weeks away from competition. But it's like an off season, or it's just a person wanting to live healthier and, reach regular goals. And it's like, yeah, if you want to pause the service for a month or two and you can kind of run everything on your own, that's okay. And I'm glad, in one way I could look at that in business and be like, oh, geez, I'm teaching people not to need me. Well, that's the point. I want people to know how to take care of themselves. And I've had very long clients, so I don't think that it hurts me in business. I actually think it helps me in business. So I would encourage other trainers to do that, is to educate your people as much as possible. Don't try to hold them hostage by keeping them in the dark. That's definitely not going to be a good approach. So I have clients I've worked with, I have clients I've worked with since before I opened Brutal Iron Gym. I have a couple clients I worked with since I still lived in Pennsylvania, which was back in, I think I moved in 2007. I don't even know if I'm doing my math right, but I think I moved in 2007 down to South Carolina. So I have clients from before 2007. So I have online clients back from 2016, 2015. I'm looking at 2014 right now on my list. So I have, really long-term clients. So they do know what to do, but at the same time we always have fun new goals. We have new things going on. Like, they have the budget for it, so we continue to work together. It's super fun, super exciting. So that is one thing, is money fluctuates, and that's going to happen. So I have an old podcast, number 304. If you want to find old podcasts, you can go to our website, www.brutalirongym.com. There's a podcast player we have there, so you can listen to all of our podcasts on the website. But then also we have instructions on how to find older podcasts. So podcast 304 is a trainer education podcast. I have like over 100 and some trainer education podcasts. I loved that, but I found it wasn't, not as many people were listening because they figured I wasn't a trainer, so I'm not going to listen to that. And it's like, oh gosh, there were really good life lessons in those. So I stopped using that as like a kind of a signifier or a name of what some of the podcasts were. But it's a trainer education podcast titled Diversifying Income Without Spreading Too Thin. And that's a really good one to learn how you can offer multiple layers, financially available layers of services, so that way you can kind of increase the ways in which people can give you money and get help from you as a personal trainer. Now, I've tried many things over the years, but currently what I have right now is we have our live monthly programming service for $50 a month. And what that is somebody picks a program topic, whether it's, bodybuilding or female aesthetic development or, power building, whatever it might be. They're going to pick a category. They're going to get brand new training program every 4 weeks. Every single exercise has a video tutorial with it. There are 6 workouts per week. You can do as many as you want. And it's brand new every 4 weeks. And then with that, you get unlimited one-on-one Q&A. You can ask me any question you want at any time, 24/7, and get an answer. So it's freaking amazing, to be honest. So I know I'm biased because it's my service, but you get brand new programming every 4 weeks, specific to your goal, and you get to ask me any question you want at any time. pretty freaking amazing. And it's included there how to set up your own nutrition program. You can ask me any questions you want while you try to do that. It's a ridiculously awesome service. It's only $50 a month. Then we have our $100 a month, which is our one-on-one nutrition coaching. So if you have training that you like, but you just want help with nutrition, for $100 a month, I will tell you exactly what to eat. I will give you daily feedback on your food. It's one-on-one, super in-depth. We communicate every single week. You can, again, ask me any questions you want and get one-on-one answers, direct personalized answers. Then we have our $200 a month service, which is the nutrition and training one-on-one coaching. So I'll also rate their training programs specific to their goals, their abilities, their equipment, their schedule. Everything's personalized 100% exactly to them. And then I have my $400 a month business coaching service, which I love that one. I have to have a cap on that one. I only do a certain number of people at a time because I end up spending way more time on it than I should financially, but I love it. I love it because when you invest in other trainers, you know it's going to make a big difference. So I help them with their nutrition and training one-on-one wise, and then we also do weekly Zoom meetings. I help with, writing programming, like business stuff, answering all those questions. So that's pretty awesome. So that's how I currently do it. Is I have a $50 a month service, a $100 a month service, a $200 a month service, and a $400 a month service. And I have caps on them. I've had to redo my caps again because I have a hard time saying no. So I want to make sure I'm always doing the best quality. I have decided long ago that you can be a mile wide but an inch deep. So I could say yes and try to help everybody but end up helping no one. So I've had to do caps on how many people I can help in each category, depending on the amount of time I have per week. So I've had to learn that not only with diversifying the options that people can get to me, I need to also be very careful about the time in which I give to everybody, so that way I can actually have it be a good quality of help. And that's a lesson I'm just relearning all the time, is I want to be impactful into people's lives. And unfortunately, that does mean that I have to be very careful about how much time I give. And that's just an ongoing struggle, but I'm figuring it out. So a big thing I would say to trainers is don't do your job for free. You do have bills. You have yourself to support. You have a family or a future family to support. So you have to make your business model something that can support your future. Not only your now, but your future. So don't do it for free, but make it variable. Try to give discounts, like do group training sessions. Sell like extra things if you can, like if you have your own studio. Maybe you can do supplements. Maybe you can do a food service distributor. If there's a meal prep company that's near you, offer to be a site where people can come and get meals from you. Even if you do it for free, it means they came to your building and then maybe they'll sign up. You can sell like training supplies, like maybe you have, wrist straps you can do a little bit of a markup on, and it makes it a little bit easier for people. They don't have to hunt it down. You can tell them exactly which ones are the best. You don't have to mark it up like crazy, but just give it a little bit of a markup if you want. It saves them because they trust you on what to get, and it's right there. So it is helpful. But that's a lot of the stuff I go through with business clients, is we talk about how to diversify income but not spread too thin. So that podcast 304 would help a lot. So budgeting is a big thing. When your income is highly variable, it's absolutely ridiculously important that you learn how to budget and budget well. So you want to calculate your yearly costs, divide by 12, and then fill up each of those months, and then probably an extra 2 or 3. It's that way you cover for the future, for next year, before you spend any of the extra. So if you have, maybe the new year is a big rush, you get a bunch of people signed up. Don't go too crazy with your money, because you might have a drought, come the next, as the year comes into October, November, December, as people get ready for Christmas, you might find that those months are very low. So you have to save the influx at the beginning of the year to cover the outflux at the end of the year. So it's very, very, very important to budget. I remember when I first started the gym, I went to a Financial Peace University kind of teaching course. It was Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, if you're familiar with it. But it's basically a budgeting thing. And I remember they were talking about envelopes. Have envelopes for each thing that you want to have, money for throughout the month. And I'm like, well, this is pretty easy because I can just put nothing in the envelopes. because I have no money. I'll have an envelope for this and there'll be nothing in it. I'll have an envelope for this and there'll be nothing in it. So I was laughing because I went to a Financial Peace University. I went to this financial course to learn how to manage money, but I didn't have any money to manage. So that was at the time, I had, over $100,000 in debt, and just busting my butt for $20 an hour training people and just crushing myself to try to cover everything I could. But thankfully the business is out of debt now, completely debt free, which is amazing. So that was blessing beyond belief, and a lot of work for myself and a lot of friends and family that helped out with just supporting me and being clients and helping me, paint the place when I need it. So thank you, Mom and Dad, and my brother, who visited one time from New York. We made him paint all weekend and he never came back. But it was, a lot of help from a lot of people. So very blessed. But it was important to know at the time, even though I was making very little money and I was dying for the no money that I was making, it was important to know what the numbers are. So if you're new in your business, learn them. Learn what your numbers, learn what your expenses are. Figure out every single thing that you have to spend money on to be in business. Figure out the full yearly cost, not just the monthly cost. Because like going to the gym, like our air conditioning is much more expensive in the summer than it is in the fall. So heat in South Carolina is much cheaper than air conditioning. So in the summer, it can be hundreds of dollars more than the heat is in the winter months. So understanding that yearly costs are a lot, they can look different than monthly costs. So it's important to know all that. You want to know all your numbers. Don't hide from them. When I was early on, it absolutely scared the crap out of me how much money it took versus how much money I felt like I was making. So I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know because I was like, why the hell do I want to know that I'm losing money and that my dream is dying? So I hid from it, but it forced me, as I grew, as I outworked that, I had to start to learn those numbers. And then you can actually feel empowered by them because you can start to say, hey, I'm not too far off. If I make this move and this move, I'm not too far off. Maybe I can do this and I can do this and I'm not too far off. So you can actually be empowered by your numbers. Don't hide from them. So that is one reason why I lose clients, is money just is short sometimes. Money is very tight. So again, diversify your income and budget really, really, really well. A second reason why I lose clients is disagreement of risk. So sometimes clients want to use an approach that is not the best for long-term health or for long-term success. And we'll have disagreements on that. Now, it's their body. They can do whatever they want to do with it. So if if I don't agree with what they want to do, then they're, absolutely encouraged and welcome to go try another approach with someone else. And I don't mean that that sounds like a very jerky way of saying it, but I don't want to do something that I don't feel comfortable doing. And especially with the history that I have, like I've been doing this for 20 years. I've trained over 3,000 people. I have 3,000 people's names in my computer, and I can pull up all the programs I ever wrote for over 3,000 people. So I've been doing this for a long time, a lot of certifications, a lot of knowledge, both like formal educational knowledge and experiential knowledge. And when somebody tells me they want to do X, Y, Z, and I'm like, don't do that. I can name you the people of why I would say don't do that. So if people want to use drugs too aggressively and too early in the process, I'm going to be like, hey, I don't think you're at the place yet that is appropriate, and that'll even be really beneficial for you. I think there's a lot of things you can do before you need to do drugs, and you sure as hell don't need to do that much in those aggressive of ones. So not all drugs are equal in regards to their risk. So we'll have a disagreement about that. I've helped people earn IFBB Pro Card, and it's like an elite totals and amazing things. And if you're in an organization that doesn't test for drugs, then you don't want to bring a knife to a gunfight. You want to play within the rules. So if you're going to use drugs, it's important to understand their benefits and risks and understand when they're the best to be used. So knowing all that is very important. A lot of times people come to me and they'll say, what about this, this, and this? And I'm like, oof, you maybe read one article or talked to one guy that was trying to sell it to you. So you might want to, why don't you read this? Why don't you go check this out? And I'll give them other resources so that way they can learn more before they try to go, too crazy into something. Also, sometimes people don't want to take the time to build their base. Like people want to squat too heavy too often, and they're going to wear out their hips. They're going to hurt themselves. They're going to risk, hurting their spine. And it's like, once you hurt that, you can't come back from that. It takes a lot of work. You can, I guess, come back from it. I've helped people with back injuries. I myself have a back injury and still squatted over 600 pounds in sleeves and deadlifted deadlifted 700 pounds. So you can definitely be amazing after injuries, but why even have the injury if you don't need it? Golly. Don't put that limiter on yourself. People sometimes want to diet too aggressive, and they have like disordered eating. They have unhealthy understandings of nutrition, and they're like, I just want to do da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, oh, no, I was like, that is not good. That is not good long term. You're going to lead into, anorexia or bulimia. You're going to lead into some really severe issues. So we want to maybe learn more about nutrition first. Let's try some things at, 50% intensity. See how you deal with that mentally. Make sure we don't get into a spiral where you hate yourself and you're setting yourself up to where you think perfect is the only option. Like, I'm going to do a 12-week prep to get on stage, and if I eat, 1 gram of fat over my diet numbers, I'm going to hate myself and think I'm a piece of crap. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that, because you're not a piece of crap. You're an awesome human being. Everyone makes mistakes. There is no way in the hell that I'm going to expect you to be perfect, and we're not setting that kind of, expectation up. So we'll just have a different viewpoint. I had one person... well, this actually happens more often than you think, is people just misalign their priorities. So they won't see family or friends for certain events if they think it mistimes their food. They'll be staying at home alone. And they're like, well, I don't want to have any friends right now. This is not a good time for my life for friends. I'm just going to, stay at home, stay focused. And I'm like, dude, don't go drink. Maybe you need to find some new friends. If that's what your old friends are doing and you're trying to make a change in life, awesome. Congratulations. But go find new friends. Like, don't just sit at home alone. That's not good. So we'll kind of talk through those things. So the idea is that I've helped people achieve amazing, amazing things. Huge, awesome, wonderful goals in very short periods of time. So I can do some extreme stuff. I've done it. It's pretty freaking awesome. You can crush big goals. But I don't want the person just to be happy in the next 10, 15, 20 weeks. I want them to be happy in the next 10 to 15 to 20 years. I want, when they look back on our time together, for it to be a positive time in their life. If somebody comes to me with disordered eating and they want to do an aesthetic competition, hell yeah, let's do the aesthetic competition, but let's learn how to eat healthy as well. Let's address that. Like that mental aspect, while we also crush that goal. Sometimes people come to me and they want to do these major sports, like strength sport. They're like, I want to do, a strongman competition, but my back hurts all the time. I'm like, well, why don't we fix why your back hurts and do the competition? We can't just turn a blind eye to those pains. You want to address those as well. So you can do both. You can be amazing in competitions and fix those issues. So I remember I had one time a client came to me and she wanted to lose weight, body fat. And she said, well, running always helps me lose weight. And I looked at her and I said, well, how many times have you done that? She goes, what do you mean? I said, well, you feel that you're overweight right now. And you said running always helps me lose weight. So I'm assuming that you run, the weight comes off, you stop running, the weight comes back on. So you're saying that running helps you lose weight, but every time you run, you say that your knees always hurt so bad that you have to stop running, and then therefore you gain all the weight back. So it technically doesn't work. It works in the short term, but it's not working for the long term, which is why you're here talking to me. If it worked, it would have already worked. So running doesn't work because you're continuing to gain that weight right back. I said, so why don't we address why your knees hurt? And she honestly said, she goes, I don't want to. I just want you to tell me what to eat, and then I'm going to start running again. And I was like, well, I don't think that's a good idea because, you're right back. You're gonna be right back where you are now. Like, and I remember looking at her, thinking to myself, like, am I speaking English in a sense to where how does this not make sense? Like, I don't know what's happening here, you know. So we were kind of talking it out, and I was like, we need to address why your knees hurt. I said, I'll help you with your nutrition, sure, and we can actually burn calories through like weight training and doing other methods, you know, maybe non-impact type methods. You don't have to just run and over-restrict your food like you used to do. Starving yourself and running, it works temporarily. But as you've seen, you've come back and actually gained more weight each time, had less muscle each time. You're actually worse off every single time you do that. You're a percentage worse every time. And it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse, which is why you're now talking to me. And she said, well, I know it works. I know it works. I'm just going to do that. And I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. I wouldn't advise that you do that. And she got mad at me, told me not very politely that she disagreed with me, and she left. And I was just like super bummed because I'm like, oh, I feel so bad. This she's screwed. Like, she's in this cycle where she's just not listening, and she continues to do this cyclical behavior that's hurting her and hurting her and hurting her. And I was super bummed. That was a moment where I just felt really, really bummed that I missed working with that person. I ended up seeing her about a year later at a gym. I was visiting, and I saw her helping. I was helping somebody else in a different gym, and I saw her at that gym. And she had gained more weight since I saw her, and she had like wraps on both her knees, and she was in that gym doing like some weight training, but you could tell like it wasn't moving well, had gained a lot of weight, and both her knees were totally wrapped up with a bunch of stuff. And I'm just like, oh crap, you know, I wish I would have been able to reach her somehow. And those ones bug you, man. It still bugs me, you know. And I don't even know how many. That's been 6, 7, 8 years, but it's just you know, those things stink when you see someone who's putting themselves at risk, and you don't want to be a part of that journey because I don't feel comfortable, you know, being there as they put themselves to risk. I don't want to make it worse. I don't want to enable it. But at the same time, as you wish you could somehow help. And that will happen. Sometimes there'll just be a disagreement of an approach to use, and they'll want to do something that's riskier than what you're going to feel comfortable doing. And it's unfortunate, and hopefully you catch them, you know, on the back end. Maybe it doesn't work, and you can then help them later on when they figure it out. So a third reason why I'll lose clients is a misalignment of expectations. They want 100% results for 100% effort. And that's exactly what they see it as. They see it as they are trying 100% their best. So therefore they expect 100% results. Whatever they think can be achieved, whether, you know, it's from what social media told them or a friend told them or God knows where they get it, and I know, like I know myself, like I have crazy expectations as well, but the difference is they're going to say I'm doing 100% effort. They're not going to say it that way. They're going to say I'm doing everything right. The truth is they're not. There is a huge difference between 100% effort versus 100% accuracy. Now, I just talked about that in podcast. Let me go ahead and see which podcast it was. I think it was like 2 podcasts ago. So, it was yesterday's podcast. Okay. So, podcast yesterday, your accuracy should determine your expectations. So just talked about that you're going to give 100% effort. It doesn't mean that you're 100% accurate with your effort. So remember I was talking with a lady one time. We were getting ready for a powerlifting competition. And I needed her to eat better for her to reach her goals. She said she wanted to get stronger, wanted to lose some body fat going into the competition. And she's like, you know, this is what I want. I'm getting older in life. I forget how old she was, maybe a little over 50. And I was like, well, you know, you got to eat right. You know, we got to get our calories right. You got to get our protein right. And she's like, yeah, I'm following the diet. Well, of course, you know, as we start talking, well, I'm following the diet, but I have a soda in the afternoons. I'm like, that's like 60-some grams of sugar just in one drink. That's not optimal for fat loss. And then we find out, well, I'm also having a couple of snacks here and there. And then also she's not hitting her protein every day. And her calories are sometimes higher and sometimes lower because sometimes she skips meals because she overate her candy and therefore she doesn't want to eat dinner. And it's like, oh, okay, so when you said you were following the diet, you meant you weren't. So it's like, what the hell? You can't say I'm following the diet, but then here's a list of things I'm doing that are not on the diet. That's what? No, that's, oh my God. I'm still flabbergasted. And it is amazing how good some people are at lying to themselves. Now, we all do in some degree, myself included. But golly, we gotta narrow that gap. We gotta narrow that gap a lot between what is reality versus what we perceive reality to be. So, overwhelmingly, what people are going to judge what they should get results-wise on is their effort. What they should be judging what they should get results-wise on is their accuracy. So, how accurate are you to the habits you should be doing? Not how often do you feel the pressure to do those habits? You're going to feel the pressure to do the habits all the time. So, of course, you're going to say you're doing 100% effort. It doesn't mean you're doing 100% accuracy. So, people will perceive themselves to be doing everything right, but they won't get the results that they expect, and then therefore they're going to want to quit. And as a trainer, it's very challenging to navigate that self-deception because you need them to be aware of what they're doing in order for you to get them to be more accurate with it to get the results they want. So I remember I had a client one time tell me they weren't losing weight, and they said, hey, I'm going to adjust our dietary numbers. I'm going to adjust our calorie numbers down 400 on each day. I really want to start trying to lose weight. And I responded back to them. I said, you can adjust numbers wherever the hell you want. It ain't going to matter. And they replied, what in the world are you talking about? And I said, what are you talking about? I said, you're not even following them. So if we looked at the past 14 days, they were only within their numbers 4 of the last 14 days. So I was like, you can adjust those numbers to, I mean, you can take it from your 2,000 calories to say, I'm going to eat 50 oranges a day. It won't matter what you say because you're not doing it. Like, we can't, like, whether you adjust the numbers doesn't mean anything because you're not following the numbers we have right now. So we actually looked at their averages, and they were actually, this is hysterical, and it worked out very luckily for me, they were actually trending at the 400 calorie reduction. So the numbers that they wanted to adjust to, they were actually already trending there because they were under eating rather than eating what I told them to eat. So it was kind of hysterical. And I feel bad for them because, like, fate and kind of the luck of life kind of slapped them in the face. Was if you're not doing what was on paper, what's the point of, like, if you change the paper, it makes no difference. So if they were going to bump those numbers down 400, it would have made absolutely no difference because they were already there and they already weren't making progress because they were already over-restricting compared to what I told them to do. So it's very, very, very important for people to be aware of what they're doing. And helping them see that in a kind way and in a teaching way is very helpful. I remember, like, I had a client one time. It was a person, they learned how to eat healthy. They previously had just kind of been eating haphazardly, whatever they thought was healthy, which was under eating all the time during the day and overeating at night. And we had worked together for a couple months. I think it was like 3 months. They said it become their healthy way of eating, like actually the way we had worked together became a new way of life for them. They felt amazing with daily energy. They felt like they were going down in clothes size. They felt more mobile, physically stronger. Just everything was feeling great, except for the number on the scale wasn't going down. Now, I had told them, you're newer to weight training, so you're going to be losing fat and building muscle. But remember that even though the scale isn't going down, your clothes are going down. You said you went down clothes size. So that means you are losing fat. So don't forget that. I said, the scale isn't the be-all, end-all. The scale isn't everything you should look at. But the number on the scale wasn't going down, so they said they're going to try something different. So after 3 months, they decided not to work with me anymore. And I was super bummed. I'm like, oh, we were getting everything you wanted. They didn't come to me and say, I want to see the number on the scale lower. They said, I want to feel more mobile. I want to feel better in the way I look in my clothes. I want to have better daily energy. And I'm like, you did it. We did it. And from my perspective, I was like, you had your calories right. you had your protein right, you had your sugars right. That's what we were tracking, and they were doing that right about 5 to 6 days a week. There'd be 1 to 2 days a week where 1 or 2 of those things would be off. But their distribution wasn't much better, so I'd ask them to do thirds. Do a third of your calories in protein in the beginning of the day, like first 1/3 of the day. Do another third of your calories in protein in the middle third of the day, then your final third of calories in protein the final 1/3 of the day. So if you divide your day by 5 to 6 hour blocks, a third, a third, a third. Well, they were still really low in the midday numbers and tended to overeat a little bit at night. And I asked them, I said, hey, for better body composition, for better body water control, okay, to look and feel leaner, let's keep your carbohydrates down that final third of the day under 50 grams. Well, they weren't getting that right. So their distribution was off, and they weren't getting that under 50 gram carbohydrate to finish the day. They were only getting that maybe 1 or 2 days of the week. So they weren't getting everything that I was asking them to do. So then they came to me and said they weren't getting everything that they were expecting, and they wanted to quit. And I was like, wait, we're not. First of all, you're getting everything. You were down in clothes size. You were feeling more mobile. You had better energy. Everything was actually moving forward, even though we had these areas that we were aware of and we've been working on. We talked about different food choices. We talked about how to get more calories in during the day with easier to prep food choices. That way you weren't eating so much at night. We talked about the things. We were trying to work on those things. But boom, they were done that quick. They were expecting greater results. But what I was telling them to improve upon and giving them advice for how to do, they weren't. They weren't really addressing those final issues that would have given them that little bit of extra change that might have started to drop the scale a little bit more. Like we talked about water weight control. I knew I could take some water off them. So that's why I wanted them to do their carbs lower at night. So there were things that we could have been doing. But instead of addressing those things, they wanted to switch over and try something new. Now, I don't know what they ended up trying. Unfortunately, we didn't continue communication after that kind of last little bit. And I was bummed. In my mind, I was like, I explained how even though you didn't see what was going down on the scale yet, you were achieving everything else you wanted. And we had a couple things in place that if we were doing better with, the scale would have gone down. So I explained it, but the person didn't listen. And they haven't experienced it for themselves. So they think they have, the secret figured out. Or they're like, yeah, this thing over here promises XYZ. I'm going to go do that. And it's just like, it's just such a bummer. People have in their mind what they think they should do. And here's somebody with 20 plus years experience, over 3,000 people, all the formal education and experiential education you can have, telling them something different. But they're going to go with what they know? Oof. There's a quote that I really like that I tell myself. Okay? Now I'm going to tell you to tell yourself as well. But this is what I tell myself. And the quote is, only a fool learns from their own mistakes. So that's the quote. The full quote is, only a fool learns from his own mistakes. The wise man learns from the mistakes of others. So I shorten it to be a little bit goofy towards myself. Is only a fool learns from his own mistakes. So what that means to me is, if somebody's telling you this is a bad idea, listen. If that person has experience, if they're in a platform that says, yes, they do know what they're talking about, and they're telling me it's a bad idea, it's probably a bad idea. So don't be a fool and make my own mistake. If they made the mistake, or they know people who've made that mistake, and they're telling you it's a mistake, learn from that. If somebody tells you don't stick a fork in a light socket, learn. If you stick the fork in yourself, you're going to go, oh shit, they were right. Don't do that. Come on. So again, the quote is from Otto von Bismarck, is only a fool learns from his own mistakes. The wise man learns from the mistakes of others. So again, I shorten that too. Only a fool learns from his own mistakes. So don't make the mistake. If somebody's telling you it's a bad idea, it's a bad idea. Just freaking learn from their advice, not from the mistake. Okay? Don't make it yourself. So I try as hard as I can to teach people what will happen before they do something. But sometimes people have to do it for themselves before they believe me. And that's a bummer. So my advice to the trainers when it comes to this is to teach, explain, give specific client stories about why what the person's about to do or was thinking of doing is a bad idea. But if they go and do it on their own, they try it anyhow, be there to support them. Say good luck with whatever you try next. If you have questions, if you need anything, let me know. I always tell people I'm always happy to help. Even if they're trying something I don't agree with, I'm still going to be there to help them. I'm still going to answer questions. And I don't know what else to do. That's the best thing I can think to do. So when it comes to business, when you're a personal trainer, you will lose clients. Unfortunately, that does happen. But I have 5 pieces of advice I want to end with that might help. Number 1 is to maintain your own health, maintain your own goals. Keep yourself a priority, okay? Fill your cup first. If you put all of your emotions into your clients and you give everything of yourself, you don't even have anything left for yourself, it will be an enormous emotional toll when people leave. So make sure you take care of yourself. You are your first client. Okay? You're your first client. With what you do, with what you accomplish, with how you look, how you feel, you're going to learn, and that's going to better help your clients. You're going to be better advertisement for your knowledge. You're going to feel fired up and excited because you're going to try things and want to share them with your clients. Everything goes better when you take care of yourself. So you are your first client. Fill your cup first. Maintain your own health. Maintain your own goals. Absolute number 1 piece of advice. Number 2 is stay focused on the people you still have. It can be bummer to miss out on people, to lose clients. And it can be super exciting to always be advertising for new clients. But don't forget who you have. Pour into them. If you lose someone, say, you know what, I'm going to double down on everybody I do have right now. I'm going to make sure everybody else is happy, make sure everybody's getting what they need, really double into education, dive into some people. Kind of reignite yourself by focusing on who you do have. Number 3 is to have a way to reach out into the world, to give of your gifts, your knowledge, your motivation, if you're that type of person. Help others. If you have a platform like social media or like a podcast, a way to speak to people, it is extremely uplifting, and it can help carry you through times when it can be a little depressing. So if you miss some clients, if you're down a little bit in business, but you have a way to still reach out into the world, to still help people, that really feels really good. Really does. Number 4 is to communicate. Have a business buddy, okay? Have someone you can talk shop with. It helps with generating ideas, helps feeling fired up. So I remember one of my best friends, Paul, he had his own business at the time when I was trying to grow my business, and we used to meet on Fridays and just talk shop and just talk about the books we were reading, what we were doing to stay motivated, how we were reaching people, how we were leading people. And man, I would end those conversations just so freaking fired up to crush the world. And I loved those conversations. They were extremely impactful for me. They helped carry me through some crazy times in business, and I loved that. Loved it. Now, I've been blessed by God that I now have a beautiful and amazing life partner, Meredith, who is a freaking business genius. She's an amazing business mind, and I get to carry on and have conversations with her as well. So it's super exciting, super fun. I absolutely love having those people in my life, and it can absolutely help with the ebb and flow of business. And then that's actually tip number 5, is remember that there's cycles in life. There will be good times, and there will be not as good times. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling like it's a little bit of a negative time, when you're feeling down, just remember previous times that you've come out of bad times. So one of the things I remember is when I need a success, remember a success. So when I'm feeling like I need a win, remember past wins. And that keeps me proactive. It keeps me moving. It keeps me trying things. keeps me aggressive in business. So when you need a success, remember a success. And that'll help a lot. Okay, well, today's ended up being really long, but I do hope that it was helpful. I hope that it was beneficial. I appreciate everybody who listens to the podcast, and I hope that in some way this has helped you. If you need anything ever, my email is brutalirongym@gmail.com. I appreciate everybody who listens to the podcast, and I hope you all have a healthy, amazing, happy life. And if there's ever anything I can do, just let me know and I'll help you out. Okay? Well, if you like our podcast, please share it. The more people we share it with, the more people can help. That's the whole point of the podcast, just help people live their healthiest and happiest life. Thank you to those who donate to support the podcast. If you want to, you can donate on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. Even just $5 a month, anything you can helps a lot. There's a high hosting cost every year for the podcast. I give an hour to it every day, so the donations do help cover some of that cost, which I really appreciate. If you like the information we share on our podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. On Instagram and on YouTube, you can find us and follow us under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.